It's an early spring day here in Tennessee, and that means there's rain clouds overhead, but it's the perfect time to go out into the front yard and find amazing forageables. You could just about make a huge meal out of everything you only find in your yard. Well, stay with us in the next few minutes. I want to talk about some people's nemesis in the garden and other people's very favorite forageable, and that is chickweed. No matter where you live in the world, just in case it happens to be early spring when you get this video in front of your eyeballs, I hope that you will take the time to run outside and just see if you might have this wonderful plant in your area. Now, here in the United States, it grows almost everywhere in the spring. As it gets warmer, and if it gets hot enough in the summer, it kind of dies down, or at least it stops blooming. But anywhere it's cool and kind of shady, you're going to find this plant, especially as a ground cover under trees or next to buildings where there might be partial shade. Anywhere where it kind of has a lot of access to moisture, you'll find chickweed. Now, I want to tell you about how to identify it. It's one of the easiest forageables for those of you who are beginners and you want a place to start. This is fantastic because not only is every part of the plant edible, but also it has very few lookalikes. It's pretty easy to identify. So let me just get started. Chickweed has this odd little way of growing and kind of taking over a whole territory. It grows almost like a mat, a smooth carpet all across your yard. So if you don't take a lot of care for your yard, you might find that chickweed actually takes over. That's only bad if you don't eat it, but if you eat it, you've got a feast just waiting for you outside. It's known by a lot of different names, and I can't pronounce half of them, so I'm just going to let them scroll across the screen and you can try and pronounce them yourself. And you probably have some other name you might have even learned to call it in your area. But starweed or chickweed are the two that I know it by, and I love the starweed name because it has these beautiful little white flowers that are the shape of stars. And most commonly, you'll see them with what looks like 10 little white petals. But actually, there are only 5 petals. They just have such a deep crevice going down through the petal that it actually looks like a divider that makes it look like 10 little petals. So just in case you didn't know that tidbit, you can go pick some and show some to somebody and tell them that you just learned something new today. Also, it has these wonderful little perfect shaped leaves, but they're going to grow apart from each other, perfectly opposite on each side of the stem, north to south, and then the next 2 little leaves will be east to west. Where the leaves grow closely together, you'll find that they actually make what looks like a little rosette, and that's most commonly found right up near that little star white flower at the top. Now, something I love that absolutely is going to help you identify chickweed and not one of its nemesis lookalikes is going to be that if you hold the stem very carefully, in fact, if you can't see it with good eyes, just feel of it, and you're going to find one little tiny ridge of hair all along that stem. Also, the little buds of the flower blossoms, before they have bloomed, they're also going to be just a little bit fuzzy with a little bit of hair. It's not enough like Velcro, but just hairy enough that you might see it if you hold it up to the light. Now, as the little buds appear on the starweed or chickweed, you're going to see that they kind of have this beautiful little drop shape to them where they kind of hang down. But as soon as they catch the light and take their turn blooming, they'll perk up and face right toward the sun. As far as dangerous lookalikes, you're going to have very little to worry about because nothing really looks like chickweed except for chickweed. But there are 2 plants I want to warn you about. The first one is common spurge. You're not going to have any problem identifying common spurge the first time that you see it and are able to identify it. But easily, when you pop that stem on spurge, you're going to notice that white gluey substance coming out, and that just immediately takes it off the list of edibles or of being chickweeds. The only other plant you want to be careful with is the poisonous Scarlet Pimpernel. Now that's not just the name of a book, that's actually the name of a poisonous plant that looks a lot like chickweed when they're not in bloom. Once they've bloomed, you can easily tell the difference, partly because they do have a star-shaped flower, but it is not that way that looks like 10 little petals. It'll just look like 5 little petals. That's one way. Also, a sure sign is if you feel again on that stem, you won't feel that hairy little ridge on Scarlet Pimpernel like you do on chickweed. Now, let's talk about some cool things about it. First of all, you can use it in so many different recipes. It is so rich in minerals and nutrients that every part of the plant is edible, and most people like it just exactly the way you pick it off the ground. I would just say this: the earlier and younger and shorter the plant, the more tender it is and the less pithy it will be when you pop it in your mouth. It should really only grow generally between 4 and 6 inches, but it will get up to 12 inches sometimes next to houses and trees and things like that. Lung diseases, asthma, blood disorders. There are so many things I could list that this has been used to treat over the years. Because of its high nutritional content and minerals in it, it's also high in vitamin E and C. It was used back in the day to treat scurvy, believe it or not. And also it's used on in a lot of salves. You're going to see a lot of folks use it with like plantain and other salves to calm skin irritations like psoriasis or boils, skin ulcers. It's even been used to treat cancer. Now, do your own research, but it's so intriguing. Some of the stories, female types of cancer have been treated successfully with chickweed. It's so cool. Read about it and you'll see for yourself. Thankfully, there are no known side effects for eating too much chickweed, so you don't have to worry about that. If you are concerned, I do hope you'll seek professional medical assistance, because I am not a professional that can give you that kind of advice. One of the easy ways that I like to fix it when I'm not using it in a fresh salad, just raw, would be this simple recipe, and that's sauteing it up with some onions and putting just a little citrus juice with it. Here's how I do it. Again, when I'm cutting it, today I'm cutting it extra long, as you see here, because there was some growing next to the house that didn't have any competition, which makes it so easy. However, like I said, shorter is tender, longer is going to be a little more pithy, and that's just fine with me for today. Carefully go through it and make sure you've fished out any of the grasses or anything else that might be competing with it there, any bugs that you find in it. Rinse it off real good and get it prepared. Then prepare a pan with boiling water and some good sea salt in it. That makes it nice. Once you've got this cut up, cut it as small or as large as you want it, but we're going to dunk it in that water so just long enough for it to wilt. Take it right back out, and over here on the side I've prepared a good frying pan, actually one of my favorite cast iron pans, with some butter in it, and I've sauteed up some purple onions that are going to just be the perfect counterpart to this. You're going to stir that chickweed in there together with the onions, and then literally only let it cook at the most for 1 minute long. And all I do is add some wonderful sea salt and some good pepper to it, and then a squirt of my favorite, which is the lime juice. That's going to give it a nice tartness to it, and it's ready to serve up. It's that simple. So I'll get it over here on my little white plate, and I'll take a bite of it, and it is absolutely delicious. I hope you try this if you haven't tried it any other way. Also, it's known for making fantastic pestos, all kinds of different salads or sauteed vegetables. This goes very nicely paired with. Some people like to stuff their grilled fish with it. And if you don't like it any of the ways we've mentioned, go ahead and make a smoothie with it, because added to your smoothie, this is fantastic nutrition. Well, there you have it. I hope you've fallen in love with it as much as I have, but if you haven't, just put pause right now on this video, run outside your front door and see if you don't have some of this wonderful weed in your front yard. Then take yourself a little taste test and just tell me you don't fall in love with it as much as I have. This is a fantastic foragable all of us should know about wherever we live. Now, It's your turn. Will you make sure that you take the time to let us know you're here? Hit that subscribe button and the bell, and let us know what your thoughts are or your favorite recipe with chickweed is. And until I see you next time, take the time to go out and be a special blessing to someone in your life today. Bye for now. Hey, before you go, let me share this word with you out of the book of Luke in the Holy Bible. This is in chapter 12, verses 8 and 9. It says this, "And I tell you, everyone who acknowledges me before men, the Son of Man also will acknowledge before the angels of God. But the one who denies me before men will also be denied before the angels of God." Now go spread the word.